Okay, good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm not going to delude myself into thinking that there are ladies present, except for my beautiful wife, of course. But yes, how is everybody doing this fine, balmy afternoon? It is Larsen live at 12 p.m. I don't know if this will be a permanent thing. I did tell the lady of the house that if I get exponentially more viewers, I will permanently change it to 12. If not, we're going back to 10. We'll see what happens. And yes, I am putting the onus entirely on you. So, what else is new on the stream? Actually, the channel. I have a new Kung Fail video debuting tomorrow, which will hopefully get lots of views because I also got a copyright strike. Why did I get a copyright strike? Because Hard Rock Nick, everybody's favorite, hacky PUA guy who looks like a flamboyantly gay genie. Yeah, he didn't like what I was saying about him, so he whined to YouTube, and that video was taken down. So if you enjoyed that, if you enjoyed seeing, flamboyantly gay genie man failing miserably at picking up women, well, sorry, you're out of luck. But yeah, we opened up the stream with John Carpenter's theme for Escape from New York, and escaping from New York is what a lot of people seem to want to be doing. Not as much as they want to escape from California, speaking of John Carpenter films, but yeah, New York City is taking it in the shorts. So says New York City Mayor Eric Adams. The city we know, we're about to lose it. The issue will destroy New York City. What issue is that? Illegal immigrants. Lots of them. They just cannot handle it. Bear in mind, this is the same city which has for several years been proclaiming itself to be a sanctuary city. Why, yes, we'll take all the illegal immigrants. In theory, but in practice, not so much. On the Twitters right now, I'm seeing NYPD coppers engaging in mild fisticuffs. Yeah, it's and of course, everybody is saying, we should have all the illegal immigrants, just not, in places like New York City, just thump them into, buttfuck nowhere. That it's not our problem, it's your problem, sir. Yeah, I would be under the impression that, inviting millions of people in unencumbered might have been a bad thing. Again, I am not against immigration on the whole, immigration in general, I should say. Just saying that giving millions and millions of people the go ahead to just storm in and walk around like they own the place probably isn't the best thing. But yeah, it's not great. But yeah, speaking of that, more specifically, referring to the migrant crisis, so to speak, also the homeless crisis, which kind of does tie in. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, literally speaking. Not in New York City, but I've heard similar things in New York City. In Wyoming, they brought in some homeless people into a hotel. They absolutely destroyed it. 500 pounds of human feces was in the hotel and on the streets. You know, I can't help but say that some homeless people, it's not just an issue of not having a home. Some of them can't really function in polite society. I mean, you can give them $1 million homes, they will literally shit them up. I mean, what is the solution? I mean, I'm not a wildly overpaid urban planner, so I don't know for sure, but it seems to me like getting them off the streets, putting them in homeless shelters, like forcing them into rehab and giving them job training to make them functioning members of society might be the better thing. But, we can also just let them in by the millions and just have them like be fouling the streets and just wonder what's happening and then whine pitifully about what's happening to our beautiful cities. Okay, we got some comments here. C Punk Messiah says, I've always liked your Kung Fail videos. Yes, tomorrow is a good one. Alpha Marigi says PUAs and fake martial artists are the exact kind of fragile ego weenies to use false DMCA claims. Couldn't stay under the radar forever, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I would have. Sorry, coffee. I I would have preferred to get on the radar for positive reasons instead of a pathetic celebrity hanger-on doxing me. But what can I do? Hard Rock Nick, of course, is a Amazon warehouse employee who is, if known for anything, he's known for briefly being engaged to an ex-girlfriend of Jeff Goldblum. Which, if you're in LA, you're going to bump into celebrity hanger-ons sooner or later. Referring to the homeless issue, Shinseki Evans says, feral humans. Yes, they are. Alpha Marigi says an ounce prevention is worth a pound of cure. Yes, it sure is. Yeah, the Wyoming thing was at the local Econo Lodge, a chain hotel. I mean, it's not the Waldorf Astoria, but it still shows a perfectly fine hotel that was literally befouled. Yeah, Los Angeles has also taken in many homeless people to be housed, in hotels. It's not good. I am 100% in favor of mental asylums being brought back. I don't care what Ken Kesey has to say about it. Yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a good book, but that hardly reflects everybody's experience in the mental asylum. Quite a lot of people actually need to be in there. Also, I'm curious as to whether or not somebody actually weighed the feces or whether or not it was just a rough estimate. Well, yes, there are a lot of feral humans just wandering around. I would say that at least the illegal immigrants going to the sanctuary cities are working, but I'm not even sure if that's happening. And everybody's like, oh, we're a big country. We can't have them in New York. We can't have them in Martha's Vineyard. Put them in, the great, American desert or what have you. As usual, I always like to say that a major problem with society is people don't face the consequences of their actions. And this is what happens when they don't. Oh shit, it's the consequences of my actions slapping me upside the head. Ian Kempster says, up here in Canada, we have a massive homeless problem as well. That fentanyl shit is absolutely destroying people. Yes, it is. I mean, I can't really judge. I mean, we have just as bad an opiate crisis in this country as you do in the Great White North. But yes, it's glad to see that my stream has international reach in the laziest possible way. Larsen Live cannot stop winning. But yeah, speaking of the homeless situation, kind of, let's talk about prison abolition. It continues to be an absolutely stupid idea. I, of course, bring this up because the feral humans that shit upon the streets and the hotels and people's front stoops and people, they're also probably the people that beat up randos in the street. Okay? The University of California Press has recently published a book by Leigh Goodmark, which is called Decriminalizing Domestic Violence, a Balanced Policy Approach to Intimate Partner Violence. IPV, Intimate Partner Violence. I guess that's a fancy way to say, domestic abuse nowadays. I mean, I don't really approve of that. But yeah, you might say, what does this have to do with the homeless crisis? I mean, it kind of does, since the people who are like, no, we should just let the homeless people run wild and free through the woods and the streets and just shit everywhere. It's their right. It's their right to do whatever they want to do. Those are also probably the people who want to abolish prisons and also want to just do away with school discipline as well. Just saying. But yeah, the brilliant woman, with all the sarcasm I say that, in this book writes that male unemployment and underemployment is amongst the biggest risk factors for intimate partner violence. Criminalization makes it harder to find and keep work, increases economic stress, and contributes to community instability. Incarceration is traumatic. Trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder are linked to the perpetration of intimate partner violence. Yeah, no, I've been poor in my life. I've literally had to steal from grocery stores, but at no point did I ever decide to just run up to a woman and start punching her in the face. I mean, I guess I just don't have that gene in me to smack women around. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not saying like I'm gonna, you know, obviously you have to take things case by case, but yeah, men who beat women should be in prison. They should be put in all the prisons. I make jokes about Sean Connery smacking women as much as anyone else does. But yeah, I don't approve in the serious terms of things. And I promise you, as much as you think you hate prison abolitionists, you do not hate them enough. And if you ask them about what exactly their plan is, like they don't have any goddamn plan. It's just like step one, abolish prisons. Step two, question mark. Step three, communist utopia. I'm looking at a comment right now on Twitter. If somebody committed a violent crime against you, what do you think should happen to that person? Prison abolitionist says nothing. Well, I guess I can't argue with that. I just. I. Yeah, it's. When I complain about weenie administrators in schools saying, like, oh, little Brappy Jr. shouldn't be disciplined at all for stabbing somebody with a pencil, I guarantee you that person is also in favor of prison abolition. Eh, So, yeah, here's another article about this same issue. Again, it's it all ties into the general topic of America rapidly declining into an utter shithole. And this article is, of course, from Teen Vogue because that's where all the great political takes come from. If we abolish police, what happens to the rapists and the abusers? Here's the answer. Okay, abolitionism is a tradition that rejects specific institutions and the possibility of reform. Penal abolition. I don't know. They're all under the impression that you can just rehabilitate rapists with like group hugs and finger paints. I don't think they can, to be honest. Like, again, maybe it's just because I've been threatened with murder by shitty students that I take a bit of a hardline approach to this. But then again, allegedly, a lot of prison abolitionists have been raped, so I don't know. Maybe they've just maybe Stockholm syndrome kicks in. Another solution I've seen is also just, oh, the friends and the family will hold them accountable. So instead of police, we'll just have, endless clan warfare and blood feuds because that's so much better. Okay, let's see what we got here. Seapunk Messiah says the prison abolitionists have no way to answer how do we contain rapists and murderers. Again, I really think it is either some of them are like, we'll just rehabilitate them with hugs and finger painting, and the other half of them are just like, clan violence will just take care of them. Okay, Pony Throat says abolish prisons, embrace lamppost based rehabilitation. Yeah, I think that's kind of the implicit. Well, I don't think that's what most prison abolitionists want, but that's what's gonna happen. Ian Kempster says one guy here was spouting off about the homeless and do what the Germans did about undesirables in the 1930s. Well, I don't think it's we need to go that far. Okay, right now we have 9 people watching, so this might doing things in the afternoon might just work. Okay, Alpha Mariga says the fact that these people have the audacity to call themselves abolitionists, as if putting people behind bars is the same as slavery, is absolutely revolting. Well, I mean, they are abolitionists. They're just abolishing something that society needs. And yeah, obviously, there's issues I have with the prison system, certainly. I mean, I've gone on record saying that flogging would actually do a lot to, like, reduce prison sentences. Because I've always said it should be a choice. You can either go to, any crime that's violent. Like here's basically my idea of what should be done with prisons. Violent crimes that hurt other people. Like murder, assault, rape, molestation. Yeah, your ass should be in prison. And yeah, frankly, if there's no doubt that you did it, you should just be immediately executed. But yeah, if anything other than that, like honestly, I think you should have a yeah, we should have a system of fines, community service, public flogging, and that will actually reduce a lot of prison sentences, I think. And in the case of flogging, it would actually like I feel that would be a major deterrent. And of course, it would be a choice. Like, you can either go to prison for 2 years, or you can pay the fine, or you can get whipped 10 times in the public square. And believe me, once you have trouble sleeping because of the whips on your back, I think that's a pretty big deterrent. Plus scarring, that'll be a pretty clear sign that you were judicially charged. Some might say that violates the Eighth Amendment. I say that going to prison is a much more cruel and unusual punishment than just getting whipped a couple of times. But that's just me. Shinseki Evans says, those draconian domestic violence laws have hurt a lot of innocent men. Yeah, obviously there's problems with that. Like there have been many cases of ladies, faking domestic violence. And yes, I've seen women literally hitting themselves with like sticks to, frame the men in their lives. But, you know, just saying like just don't punish domestic abusers at all. That's really stupid. Because there are a lot of domestic abusers out there. And they should be severely punished. Ian Kempster says, I think Roman style slave labor would be a great punishment. Want to know about that? I mean, I think you should be paid, certainly, for your labor. Like with a lot of these like homeless people, I think paid labor, like like the CCC that they had in the Great Depression, just to get like these young whippersnappers off the streets and put them to productive labor. I think that would be pretty good. Pay them a fair wage, and then simultaneously, as they are paving roads or whatever, you're also dragging them to rehab, and you make them productive members of society. You learn a skill, you get work experience, and you stop being a useless shit ass, literally shitting on the street. But yeah, let's leave behind this terrible thing. We're gonna go back to felonies, of course, in a little while. But yeah, let's go to some international news. Literally this morning, Morocco was hit with a massive earthquake. I think it was like a 7.0 on the Richter. Pretty big. Yeah, Marrakesh really got it in the shorts with that earthquake. I have no disrespect for the good people of Morocco. I hope things go well. Yeah, it's just happens, so it's probably there hasn't been like a confirmed death toll yet, or casualty rates, or how much damage was done. But yeah, it looks pretty bad. Yes, some guy was seen running out of his home with his PS5 because clearly that was the most important thing to save in this massive earthquake. I don't know, like priorities. Like, look, I know Morocco is not as wealthy as the United States, and the guy probably saved up a lot of money for his video. But yeah, I would try to save myself first, and things that are necessary, not the video. Yeah, so far at least 800 people have been killed. That is very, very bad. I would say, you could donate to my thing, and I will donate charitably to Morocco. But of course, I am a very, very low budget streamer. I don't have any such thing. But if you want to give me money, I will certainly take that. Okay, let's see. Ian Kempster says, paid labor for the homeless would be great. Clean up the city, give them structure and purpose. Yes, I agree. I mean, the very least they could do is, you know, clean up their massive piles of feces. that they have on the streets. Like, I went to school in San Francisco. I like San Francisco very much. I don't like, I mean, there wasn't like the massive homeless problem quite so much in San Fran when I was there. But yeah, apparently now it's like you can't even take 5 feet without stepping into a homeless man's shit pile. And I can't say I approve of that. Alpha Marigi says the PS5 has no games. Well, I don't follow the video game scene nearly as much as I used to, so I don't know what games the PS5 has. I know they have like a remake of Dark Souls or something, which yeah, that's really something when your biggest game is a remake of a game that came out 10 years ago. But yes, I like Dark Souls very much. Yeah, I don't know what game the guy's playing, but clearly he's saved up a lot for his PS5, and I guess I can kind of understand why he would risk everything to save it. But you know, this is why I play retro games because you don't have to worry about them getting destroyed in earthquakes. Rick says there was a May of a woman who went into a flooded house to save her husband's Gundams. Well, yes, the Gundams are very important, clearly. Ian Kempster also says some great hash came out of Morocco. Yes, that is what I hear. I've never been to Marrakesh or anywhere in Morocco, so I'll take your word for it. The closest I ever got was Mombasa, which is nowhere near Morocco at all. Okay. C Punk Messiah says it's more important to save the PS5 than the television. I guess. Alpha Marigi says he was in San Francisco a couple weeks ago. It wasn't that bad. It's been a while since I've been there, but I just see those maps of like human feces, and it's just like the way the map is construed. It looks like just everything is covered with feces. And of course, the major problem is quite a lot of people are just a-okay with homeless people shitting everywhere. It's just some kind of like societal Stockholm syndrome. Well, this is part of living in the city. This is part of living in the city. It's that urban life, man. You gotta get used to just homeless people shitting on you and stabbing you with bottles. Believe it or not, we don't have to live this way. All right, so going back to the felony thing, we're going to, of course, the animal world's equivalent of violent felons, and that is, of course, pit bulls. Yep, pit bulls do it again. Two XL bullies, not true pit bulls per se, but yes, in Old Blighty, two dogs, two American bully dogs, so I guess that's different from a pit bull. They killed 22 pregnant sheep after they escaped from their home. The farmer who owned the sheep shot the dogs dead. They killed 22 sheep and injured another 48. This is a farmer in South Wales. Yes, the man who owned them was a David Hughes. He has been banned from owning dogs for 5 years because he couldn't control his dogs. So David Hughes of, oh God, how the hell do you pronounce this? Pen E. Warren Roslinch. Jesus Christ, Wales. Okay, I'm gonna post this stupid name. I'm sorry, I don't want to make fun of Welsh people, but my God, like, what the hell is this? Okay, so yes, a man who lives in that place. He appeared in the magistrate's court on August 22nd. He admitted to owning a very dangerous dog. He is officially banned from owning dogs for 5 years in order to pay 900 British pounds in fines. Yeah, so his dogs just lost their shit and started killing sheep. He could not get them under control because one of them attacked him. I hate to say it, but pit bulls, they just ones that are not trained properly, they just go into this like blood frenzy and they just kill everything. I don't want to demonize the dog, like an entire breed of dog, but uh, yeah. And literally, as I read this article, there's another article about another pit bull attack. In North Carolina, a young boy named Hunter Bishop was riding his bicycle down the street when 10 pit bulls attacked him, leaving him bleeding and fighting for his life in a ditch. I don't know why there were 10 starving pit bulls just riding about on the street, just running about on the street, I should say. Yeah, yeah, he's okay, thankfully, but yeah, it's Jesus Christ, pit bulls. Can we please train the goddamn dogs properly? Okay. Got some comments here. Alpha Marigi says, excluding remakes and games that are yet to be released, the PS5 only has one exclusive game. That is unfortunate. Alpha Marigi says, sorry, I just read Alpha Marigi. Ian Kempster says, Shinobi was one of the best games ever for retro games. Which Shinobi are you talking about? The one on the Sega Genesis? That was pretty cool. Also, Sega Genesis Shinobi basically gets away with using Spider-Man as one of the bosses, which I don't know how they got away with that. Alpha Marigi says, I have nothing left except for Spooderman, PS5 owners. C-Punk Messiah says, thankfully, my landlord's pit bulls are a couple of mixed breed, excitable morons. Well, that's good. I hope they're friendly morons, not violent, aggressive morons. Yeah, it's funny because, like, I happen to know a pair of pit bulls, and they're very nice, very well trained, and they behaved. So I'm not one of these people who's like, we should extirpate the entire pit bull breed. But yeah, like you got to train them, and I've said it once, and I'll say it again. A major problem is that a lot of people who own pit bulls are, as Ponythroat said, they're service dogs for people who are incapable of pleasing women. Yes, exactly. Many men with little tiny penises get pit bulls because they want to have like a badass killer dog, man. And then they don't train them properly, and then Fluffy ends up mauling somebody, and everyone just stands around to thumb up their ass. And I bring this up because it all ties together. You see, the people who want unlimited homeless people shitting on the streets and unlimited illegal immigration and prison abolition, they also tend to be the people who own pit bulls and don't train them. They're these highly medicated, middle-aged divorcees with a lot of tattoos who just assume that magical fairy dust is going to make everything good, and Fluffy's not going to kill anybody, and they basically view homeless people as like their lovable pit bull, or maybe they view pit bulls as the animal equivalent of whimsical hobos. It's a chicken or the egg thing. Either way, overly medicated middle-aged women need to be stopped. Ian Kempster clarifies Shinobi Arcade. Ian Kempster also says he doubts the North Carolina story. He'd be dead. Well, the boy has had 4 surgeries and he's awaiting a 5th. So he's not doing too good, but he is alive for the time being. Yeah, so apparently someone had to clarify that Roslanshragu is not in South Wales. It is in North Wales, near Bangor, in Cardigan Bay. Basically, it is to the north of Aberystwyth and Ben now Brishan National Park and Cardiff. Okay, I'm sorry. Can we like get Wales to like use a normal goddamn alphabet for once? Like what are these words? And all this time, I was trying to make a pun about sheep being killed. I wish I knew how to quit killing you. Okay, Alpha Marigi says, I prefer Pitbull the rapper because I have terrible taste in music. I don't know. I was always under the impression that Pitbull was kind of like DJ Khaled and that he doesn't actually make his own music. He just shows up in other people's music and just kind of says something in the background once in a while. And, would that I could get that job to just like scream my own name in the background of other people's songs and get paid millions of dollars. Yeah, that is one of the jobs I envy the most. That and either of the Buffer brothers, Michael or Bruce. And yeah, I've always preferred Michael Buffer because Let's Get Ready to Rumble is much better than It's Time. But yes, I deeply envy both Buffer brothers and anybody who just yells their own name in the background of other people's songs. Shinseiki Evans says, I support pit genocide. They all have the capacity for psychopathy. Well, I don't. Look, I'm not saying you should extirpate the breed. I mean, you could breathe the aggression out of them. Like they literally did that with bulldogs back in the day. And Cane Corsos and stuff like that. But again, the a lot of people really just kind of project their like issues with sociology and prison abolition onto pit bulls, and they're like, oh, it's like dog eugenics if you were to breathe the aggression out of them. Like, what are you, racist? And yes, I have literally seen people say that like pit bull hatred is just sublimated hatred of black people because that makes a lot of sense. C-Punk Messiah says they are friendly, they are overly excitable, and they jump up on you. They calm down if you assert your authority over them. My wife says, I would love to meet the person named their pit bull Fluffy. Well, I just I'm going for a contrast there to give like the cutesiest name combined with like the most ferocious, untrained pit bull. Ponythroat says, Fluffy may maul children, but without him, who would make my wife orgasm? Indeed. C-Punk Messiah says, on the subject of Shinobi, my first one was the PS2 one. I never played that one. Didn't they also make like a new Strider Hiryu game? Or maybe I'm just imagining things. Ian Kempster says it's not the animal, it's the owner. Yes, I agree. Rick says, Larsen, stop. You're summoning Cthulhu from my holding pond. Flan Glui Migglewinaf Cthulhu Relaya Fatan, sir. But yes, Welsh is a silly language. I don't know. It's amazing how like every Welsh person I've ever known is named Jones, and yet somehow like they've refused to change these like ridiculous Gaelic names from like the ancient times. C-Punk Messiah consoles me, saying that I try to pronounce the Welsh names properly. All I could do is try. Ian Kempster says, my dream job is a mattress tester or a pro bodybuilder. I mean, pro bodybuilding is pretty tough. But yeah, mattress testing is probably pretty easy. There's also people who literally get paid to watch paint dry, so you can get that job too. Alpha Marigi says, Larsen says, over-medicated middle-aged women need to be stopped. Lowering fertility and marriage rates say, lol, no. I didn't think it was going to be stopped anytime soon, but they need to be stopped. Daphne says, they were bred for aggression. What do you expect? If you're not a strict dog owner who can adhere to training schedules, you shouldn't own a poodle, much less a pit bull. Yes, I am fully in agreement. Pit bulls are not inherently evil. They just need, a a very firm hand and somebody who's physically capable of, wrangling one. And yes, I have seen multiple videos of like tiny, like over medicated liberal women being forcibly dragged on the pavement as their, velvet hippo like runs across the street to maul some, cat or whatever. Seapunk Messiah says Ian is Welsh for John. Good to know. Ponythroat says Pitbull apartheid now. Let's not be too hasty, sir. Alrighty. Yeah, so what else is happening in the world? Yeah, so there's a rumor going around, going back to international news, from Morocco to Wales and now to India, or I'm sorry, Bharat. There's a rumor going around that India will be changing its name. It's not his name. Its name to Bharat, Bharat. It's worth pointing out that India's Prime Minister Modi had Bharat, not India, at his placard at the G20 summit. Well, first of all, that just ruins the BRICS acronym, sir. Now it's the it's Brazil, Bharat, Russia, China, South Africa. That just, come on, man. You got to save the acronym. Okay. I know, I guess Bharat is the name of India as portrayed, I'm sorry, as spoken by Indian people. I don't know, like, why is everybody doing this all of a sudden? Like, you had Turkey with Turkey, you have India with Bharats. Like, what is China gonna refer to themselves as Zhonghua? Are we gonna have to call Japan Nippon, Korea Chosun? Then you have like the Czech Republic is now Czechia, which sounds stupid. I don't know. It just sounds dumb. Like, why can't there be two names? Like, why can't they have their own name in their own language and we call it what we want in our language? I mean, I guess we're gonna start calling the United States of America like Columbia or possibly Turtle Island. I mean, we can put that to a vote. Okay. Robert Leonard says, "Morning, I need my second cuppa." And we have 11 people watching now. So, this is a good turnout. But, I have had, maximum of 12 people turn out during the 10 a.m. stream. So I don't know if this is, a clear sign of 12 p.m. being better. Alpha Mariga says India is a dude. Well, I mean, countries are traditionally personified as ladies. But then again, I mean, considering the behavior of Indian netizens, maybe they are dudes. They are abundantly dudes. Okay, 14 people. This is officially the biggest turnout we've ever had. Okay, Ian Kempster says his dad was born in London, but he is right about his name. Ian is Welsh for John. Shinseki Evans says, fine, our Native Americans can be Indians again. Yes, so I guess that's a positive thing. We don't have to differentiate between different kinds of Indians. Robert Leonard says he has no problems with his bully, a rescued American Staffordshire Terrier. Yeah, it's, I don't have anything against pit bulls in general. Just you got to train them real good. Because I am really tired of seeing little weesh soy pods getting their asses kicked by their pit bulls. Ponythroat says, I, for one, am in favor of calling America Turtle Island. Cowabunga. Indeed, sir. Indeed. I mean, I don't really know these sort of country name changes until I see regular old people saying them. So, you know, I know that like Turkey is officially Turkey now, but I'm just still calling it Turkey, and everyone else I know still calls it Turkey. So, maybe when I see people calling India Bharat, just in casual conversation, we shall know if the name change is official. I mean, what do you even call a person from Bharat? Like, an Indian person is from India. Is it a Bharati or Bharatani or I don't know what the hell it is. All right, let's go to some scientific news because there was some science going on today in both the horrifying way and the good way. So first of all, okay, scientists have created an entity that closely resembles an early human embryo without using sperm, eggs, or a womb. So saith the BBC. A community note on Twitter says, for context, the entity was created using human stem cells coaxed with chemicals to form into the four cell varieties found in a 14-day-old embryo. What would that be? Gastrulation or blastulation? It's been a while since I've studied embryonic developments. Yeah, so it spontaneously assembled into a structure resembling an embryo, but didn't develop further than that. Let's see. Yes, it's basically it's not going to develop into a real person per se. But yes, it looks like a 14-day-old embryo. It even released hormones that turned a pregnancy test positive in the lab. The ambition for embryonic models is to provide an ethical way of understanding the earliest moments of our lives. Okay, let's see. The Weizmann Institute in, I believe, Jerusalem, somewhere in Israel. Yes, it mimics the key structures that emerge in the early embryo. Okay, so you got the epiblast cells, trophoblasts, hypoblasts, and extraembryonic mesoderm cells. Okay, let's see. So yeah, it didn't. Yeah, they allowed it to develop until they were comparable to a 14-day-old embryo, and then they did not develop it further because legally that is a cutoff for normal embryonic research. The idea is that it will help scientists explain, stem cell differentiation, how they form, without actually having to, take a real embryo. Okay. So it's interesting on a scientific sense, but also I can't help but think that this is a man made horror beyond my comprehension. Well, actually, it is just within my comprehension, but it is a man made horror, per se. Yes, the researchers stressed that it would be unethical, illegal, and probably impossible to achieve pregnancy using those embryonic models. Assembling those cells together goes beyond the point an embryo could successfully implant into uterine lining. So, yeah, interesting, but also a man made horror beyond human comprehension. Okay. Alpha Merigi. American video game developers don't make the ladies hot enough anymore for us to be sharing the same animal as Master Roshi. I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to. I mean, yes, American video game developers are whole hog onto the, Anita Sarkeesian train. Again, she stopped doing feminist frequency because she realized that she won, basically, and she can just work as a consultant to crap up video games forever. But yeah, Western game devs are specifically going out of their way to make people just really ugly and lumpy because it's more realistic, man. But yeah, that's a whole different issue. Shinseki Evans says Myanmar still hasn't really stuck. Indeed, I just got to say, Burma is much more poetic. By the old mole mine pagoda looking eastward to the sea, there's a Burmese girl sitting, and I know she thinks of me. It's not a Myanmari girl sitting. Ponythroat says Bharat, the doll from Hasbro. Ah, yes, everybody's favorite, baby hooker dolls. Ian Kempster says I think they should just drop the A in America and put fuck yeah at the end. Yes, yes, indeed. Robert Leonard says, wasn't Siam changed to Thailand because Thai was a tribal name of the royal family? I don't know. Alpha Marigi says, Turtle Island. Okay. Ponythroat says, if this is an Israeli sign, it's probably a Palestinian children blast. Yeah, well said. Ian Kempster says, I think India is a woman. And yes, some Bollywood actresses are very attractive. Model 101 says, me want the punani so you can make me nice. Whose lyrics are those, Larsen? That would be Steven Seagal's Strut from his Songs from the Crystal Cave, a very terrible album that I have unfortunately listened to. Yes. I'm not the baddest man in the world, and I'm not the greatest martial artist in the world or the greatest musician in the world, but I am a better martial artist and a better musician than Steve Burt Seagal, and I can confirm that. See, Punk Messiah says, I know Ryukyu was changed to Okinawa due to the Japanese takeover. Yes, and Formosa was changed to Taiwan after World War II when Taiwan was briefly given back to the Republic of China, and then the nationalists retreated to Taiwan after the communist takeover. Okay. Model 101 laughs. Yes, Steven Seagal is a terrible lyricist. Robert Leonard says if you call it Turtle Island, every other Indian nation will be pissed off over the Algonquin Iroquois hegemony. Hegemony, sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Yes, yes, they will. C-Punk Messiah says Ryukyu sounds way cooler. I think Okinawa sounds pretty cool myself. But yes, also in scientific news, in my field, archaeology news specifically, and actually relating to Israel again. Israel is doing a lot of science today. Yes, Roman swords, gladii, in almost mint condition, were discovered after 1900 years in a Dead Sea cave. Yes, very cool story I've found. Yeah, they are remarkably preserved in almost mint condition. The wood and leather hilts and the steel is actually still pretty intact. A bit rusty, but not too bad. Yes, they were discovered in a remote cave near the Dead Sea. I presume the extreme saltiness preserved those swords. Yeah, it's 4 swords and a javelin. Yeah, it was in an area that was known as a hideout for rebels during the Judaic rebellion against the Romans, which has led researchers to believe that the weapons were, you know, snatched up by the insurgents for use against the Roman occupiers. Obviously, the rebels did not want to be caught by the Roman authorities. They yes, trying to look up more of these facts. They seem a little bit bigger than a gladii, actually. So I guess by 100 AD or so, they were using different swords than the gladius. I wish I could say I was an expert in swords, but I'm not. I, of course, have the, enthusiastic amateur knowledge of swords that pretty much any, young man of above average IQ has, but I am not an expert by any means. Hey, Ponythroat says, Hadrian did good work. We need modern leaders like him. The suppression of the Jewish rebellion was very brutal, so much so that was it Hadrian or was it Vespasian? He was like, I'm really bummed out. I don't want to have a, triumphal arch built. I feel a little celebration, looking at all this brutality. So, well, I guess the Israelis can take heed in knowing they put up a good fight, even though they ultimately lost. Model 101 says, "Are you hyped for MK12 or are you not a gamer?" Well, I am a gamer, sir. I I don't really play the new games because, well, they suck, but kidding. So yeah, I'm not super hyped for MK12 or is it MK1? Because I don't have a system that can play that game, personally speaking. But yeah, I'll watch some videos of it certainly. I mean, Robert Leonard says, "I think Schologrim has a video on those Roman swords found in the Dead Sea." I will have to look into that. Yeah, I watch a few of those sword channels. Like I watch Scala Gladiatora. I should probably watch Schologrim too. Ponythroat says Hadrian built the wall and it worked. Roman England didn't have any illegal immigrants. Yes, that's very true. Of course, if you were to ask a Scotsman, he would say that Hadrian didn't build the wall to keep people, in. He kept it to keep us out. And now that I'm interested in that, I have to look up which uh, which emperor was the one who said that about the Jewish rebellion. Okay, so actually there were two Jewish rebellions. I apologize. Yeah, Vespasian did the first one, and then I think it was Hadrian who did the second one. Let's see. Yes, it was Vespasian. Yeah. Model 101 says it's MK1, which is also 12. I find that very confusing. Jean-Claude Van Damme got revealed as a playable skin. He looks good, man. I mean, if you want to be technical, Jean-Claude Van Damme was literally playable since the first Mortal Kombat, considering that Johnny Cage was literally a caricature of him. Alpha Marigi says he saw the 1995 movie for the first time. I liked it without being a fan of the games. Yes, the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie is still, in my opinion, the best video game movie of all the times. I mean, it's a hell of a lot better than the other two Mortal Kombats. Robert Leonard clarifies the first Jewish rebellion was 67 to 72. The Bar Kokhba, the second rebellion, was 132 to 135. Yes, so these swords would be from the second rebellion. Interesting. Ponythroat says historically, the point of Hadrian's Wall is a bit of a mystery. It might have just been a wasteful way of marking the edge of the empire. I've whizzed it up, by the way. Oh, he whizzed up it, by the way. Well, that's good to know, sir. I'm sure many a Roman soldier pissed on it himself. All right, so Israel is doing good with science. Interesting things with science, I should say. The embryo thing, not so much. Okay, so now we got some culinary news. A couple of things that are interesting here. First of all, there's a thing that went a bit viral on the Twitters. It is a thing from Ohio. It's allegedly a dessert that you can eat in Ohio. It is a lettuce leaf and brown sugar. This is the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to put this on my on the stream right now. 1 second. I don't want to make fun of Ohio so much, but like, what the hell is this? Okay, let's see. Let's look up this terrible thing. Okay, bless you, my love. Hey, yeah, so it's delicious lettuce and sugar. I'm sorry, I gotta. Everything's fucked up with my image and things. I gotta fix this. It's gonna take a little bit. Hey, let's this. Okay, here we go. Ohio, I have a few questions to ask. What the hell is this? You consider this a dessert? It's brown sugar and lettuce. Like, why? Ah, Jesus Christ. And people are like confirming this in the thread. It's like, I live in Ohio. Everybody eats these. Like, I'm sorry, but like, this is a god. What kind of dessert is this? I could literally mush up some bananas and put raisins in, and that's like a better dessert than whatever the hell this pathetic thing is. Okay, Alpha Marigi says Mortal Kombat 95 made me want to fist fight people because it made martial arts look fulfilling and badass. The new Mario movie made me want to fist fight people because I was told it was good. Excuse me, sir. The new Mario movie was good. Like, I mean, when I reviewed it on the stream, I said don't expect Citizen Kane or Legacy of Kane. Obviously, the inherent childishness and inanity of the Mario franchise is gonna, limit it. So you're not gonna get like a work of art. But like, I thought it was good for what it was. But yes, the 1995 Mortal Kombat is the best video game movie. Like, it's so good that it actually changed the games. Like, they put stuff from the movie into the games, and that's how you know you did it good. And then there's Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which is one of the worst movies ever made, but it's hysterically funny. And honestly, find the second Mortal Kombat movie to be more entertaining than that new one. Timothy Adams says, I grew up in Ohio, and yes, we eat stuff like this straight sugar on stuff, or sometimes with butter. But why, sir? I mean, I'm from New Jersey. We eat Taylor ham. So I don't know if I can judge, but I was not expecting this. T-Punk Messiah says that is a crime against sweets. Yes, yes, it is. I mean, you know, when I try to, give a good word about America's culinary tradition, I'll bring up things like key lime pie or pecan pie. No offense, sir, but I will not be bringing up lettuce and sugar. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do that. I'm sorry. I've offended you, but yes. My wife says, note to self: eat nothing in Ohio. Well, uh, I've made this exact joke on the stream, but it's like, why did the Wright brothers come from Ohio and Buzz Aldrin and like all the astronauts and like pioneers of aviation stuff? Because they want to get as far the hell away from Ohio as humanly possible. And I've never been to Ohio. I don't want to make too many jokes, but I'm from New Jersey. I'm used to being the butt of jokes, so it's nice to dump on somebody else for once. Kidding. Alpha Marigi says key lime pie is really good. Also, America pioneered ice cream. Well, I don't think like regular ice cream was created in America, but we did invent popsicles. I do know that for a fact. Also, eggs Benedict, my favorite breakfast. And finally, with regards to food and diet, the Economist says it is economically rational for ambitious women to try as hard as possible to be thin. That is a tragedy. Yes, thinness is a tragedy. Let's see if I can read this article if it's behind the paywall. Okay, it's behind the paywall. But yeah, I guess this all ties back to eating you know, lettuce and sugar. Okay, let's see. Timothy Adams says a lot of Ohioans were miners and farmers who used to very meager food. Well, yes, I understand that. Uh, to an extent, peasant food is good. I love speaking of American historical cuisine, I like fried apples and like breakfast sausage myself, which is like scrappy peasant food. But I don't know, just the lettuce and sugar. I guess if you need a dessert, that'll suffice. But I would pass. Model 101 says Shido videos on George Dillman. Haha, sir, I already did. Several years ago. He says he thought the Frank Dukes one was hilarious, listening all the way here in London. Thumbs up. Well, I'm glad you like them, sir. Uh, Actually, with regards to Frank Dukes, I actually recently obtained a copy of his book, The Secret Man. So eventually, once I get through that, I will do a kung fail on that one as well. So, I'm not going to promise that like next week or anything, but eventually it will come. Alpha Marigi says ice cream was a rare luxury in the old world. We didn't invent it, but we did popularize it. Like I said, we did invent popsicles. Let's see. Look up. Now I'm looking up the history of ice cream. Okay, there are Roman and Persian and Chinese records of things that are kind of like ice cream. Yes, several American founding fathers like Ben Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson were known to enjoy ice cream. Okay, then there were but soft serve ice cream was invented in America, so I guess we can have some credit for that. Okay. Timothy Adams says you should do Phil Elmore. He's back on the net and failing hilariously. Actually, fun fact, I did do a video on Phil Elmore years ago, but he basically threatened to dox me unless I took the video down. So, yeah, I'm gonna admit it. I backed down and I took it down. I do still have the video I did on him, which is available to people who subscribe to my Patreon. Wink, wink. So, if you're interested in that, I can send it to you if you patronize me. C-Punk Messiah says, I wonder how many people tried to dojo storm Dukes and Dillman's dojos. Well, I do know Frank Dukes got his ass kicked by Zane Frazier shortly before the first UFC tournament in 1993. So I guess that counts. Uh, yeah, so, and finally, we're going to go to pop culture news. Sophie Turner of Game of Thrones fame, broke up with her husband Joe Jonas because she felt trapped in her marriage and wants to relive her youth after she's been married and having two children. She was seen in Birmingham downing shots and acting like a complete skank. That's yeah, I don't. God damn it, Sansa. Yeah, I don't have much else in the way of pop culture and celebrity news, but yeah, she's not looking great in this picture. Again, she's got that you know drunken pick me girl face on, which it's not very attractive. Literally, the only thing I know about the Jonas Brothers is that they have popcorn now, which I'm sure your husband was making good money on his popcorn. I think when you have two children, you kind of have to realize you're not going to relive your youth. Seems like a pretty futile thing to do. Again, some women, not all women, but some women just run from personal responsibility like a vampire from sunlight. Okay. Timothy Adams says, ooh. The wonton soup says, made it barbaric. Well, I try to make things barbaric. Okay, Dillman is one of the funniest bullshito men out there. Yes, he is. He moves lines and cues with key powers. Yeah, he does. I talk about that in my video on him, and where he talks about like, oh well, if you have your toe up or you have your tongue in a certain way, it doesn't work. Yeah, it's I don't agree with you, sir. Yeah, that does it for my prepared remarks. If anybody has anything to say, you can say it now. Hey, Shinseki Evans says it's funny and sad to see women online defending this Sansa chick. Yeah, I mean, she was always the least responsible of the Stark sisters, personally. And, it's this is hardly like a new opinion, but god damn, that book Eat, Pray, Love like ruined an entire generation of ladies. Yeah, I'm hardly the first person to say that. I'm not going to take credit for that observation, but yeah. Okay, Timothy Adams says, good to hear from you. Good stream. And yes, I did get a bigger turnout today, so maybe we will do afternoon streams. We shall see. Depends on what I'm doing that day. Shinseki Evans says, what do you think of Danny Masterson getting 30 years in prison? He's a POS, but there's no evidence. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that because, like, from what I gathered, it was like something that happened 10 years ago. It was just kind of like a he said, she said kind of thing. I mean, there's obviously some scummy behavior went down, but yeah, like 30 years, I don't know if that's like really warranted. For what it's worth, Red and Kitty kind of gave letters confirming his good character. Yes, I know they have actual names. Deborah Jo Rupp and Kurtwood Smith. I mean, I can also point out that there was another non-celebrity rapist who literally got like 180 days. So, it's just a narco tyranny. Some people get really strict or really lenient prison sentences, and no one has any idea of why that's the case. Okay. Timothy Adams says, don't cross the Thetans. Yes, Danny Masterson is a Scientologist. Yes, obviously Hyde is not been the most upstanding citizen in the world, but you know, I know I will admit I haven't really read the details of the case. I don't know. Perhaps some punishment would be in warranted, but 30 years, I'm not sure. My wife says, am I the only person, the only woman who hasn't read or seen Eat, Pray, Love? I think you might be. Alpha Marigi says, the dog with the boxing gloves from the meme world reminds you of the Gaumon line from Digimon. I have no idea what that is. I mean, I know what Digimon is, obviously. I just don't know that particular Digimon. Alpha Marigi says, does Thetan derive from the Greek letter theta? I don't know. I mean, I read the astounding book, like the book about astounding science fiction and how like L. Ron Hubbard and Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov and John Campbell kind of intersected in their lives, and Robert Heinlein too. I don't think it went into great detail about like how exactly L. Ron Hubbard came up with the whole Scientology thing. At least I don't remember it saying such. But yeah, I can't even tell you like how he came up with it. Ian Kempster says, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's video. I'm glad, sir. I think it's a pretty good one. Right, so I am profusely sweaty, and you can say your last pieces if you want as I go get some water. Alpha Marie says, thank you again for delaying the stream for us California plebs. Yes, you're welcome. Yeah, it was a better turnout today than the past few days, so maybe I will do afternoon streams. Again, it depends on what I'm doing that day. Hey, give you one more minute to say your last pieces, then I gotta head out. Okay, it doesn't seem like anybody has anything else to say, so for Larsen Halleck, this has been Larsen Halleck. All of you have a good day. Subscribe, share, smash that like button. I'm gonna go hang myself.